We work together.
Oh, cool. That's
we work
awesome.
together, and we've been on the video. And yeah. And we've been doing a lot of things. We did Reiki together and a couple of other things as well. So we're on our spiritual journey.
That's awesome. Well,
soul sisters, yeah.
Welcome to the tarot class. So I'm really excited to get this started. We actually cover a lot of stuff in the class. So you can take notes, or you can also message me on my Facebook page your email address, and I can send you an audio transcript of tonight. So then it's a little easier to remember everything. And some people will also have their phones recording, and that is fine as well. So we have a lot to cover. Just a little bit, a little information on me. I've been reading tarot cards professionally, pretty much full time, since 1998. And I learned how to read naturally, and I started when I was about 18 years old. I was given a deck of the Rider-Waite, and actually how it occurred was I was at my parents' house and I saw this deck of cards sitting there, and I'm like, what are these? And my stepfather says, oh, they're a deck of tarot cards. They let you, they tell you your future. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, here, why don't you take them and try them out or whatever? Well, I ended up keeping them. So I lived on my own at that time, and quite young, and trying to figure out life. So I started asking the questions. I was looking at the deck, I started shuffling them, and I started asking questions about my life. And at that time in my life, I was working as a waitress. I was quite young. I was alone, didn't have, you know, any relationship. So I had a lot of questions, like, what should I be doing? Anyway, it took a little while of me asking questions, and then one night I turned over the cards and I could hear the voice of, it was not me, there was no one in my house, but I heard the voice of a male, and he read the cards to me. And it freaked me out. I was like, holy shit. And I was really freaked out, and I never touched the cards for about a week, and it really puzzled me because he gave me the actual reading and directed me in a way that it rang true. Like, there was no way this person knew my life, and it was no one there. It was a spirit, pretty much. So I waited about a week, and then again I thought, oh my God, okay, I'm going to try this. So I sat down with the cards, I flipped the cards, boom, there it was again. So when that happened, it never left. And through my connection to reading the cards and spirit, I've learned how to communicate with spirit through the cards. So to me, learning the intuitive way is super special. And I'm going to teach you everything I know. I've been teaching this for a long time, and it's really fun. So I can't wait to share this with you. I hope you do have a deck of tarot. And once you learn, you can read any decks. So you may end up having a collection. Awesome. I have a big collection that I need to start getting rid of. One time in my life, I was like, I want to have every deck there is. Now I have over like 400. And they all have to go. My house is very small. So let's get started. Just so you know, that's how I started. And then I started, you know, reading for friends and stuff. Eventually, it was actually a psychic that I went to as well when I was at that age. And I got a reading from this person. And he told me, oh, you're going to be moving to Vancouver and all of this stuff. Anyway, the reading came out exactly how that psychic said. I ended up moving to Vancouver. I got an office assistant job for a night Granville Entertainment, it's a major corporation. They own most of Granville Street, which is all bars and hotels and restaurants. And they knew and found out that I did readings and hired me on to be their psychic. Eventually, I ended up being the celebrity psychic for Z95 and built a lot of clientele to the point where I was able to just do this full time for a living, which I love. I have done other things too, but this is something that once you learn it, you can be 80 years old reading cards for people. And it is something that you can also use for your life. I use my cards every day, and most of my decisions are based off of the cards. So I hope you enjoy the journey. So I want to get started, and one thing that I want to explain is there are two types of cards. We have the tarot cards and we have the oracle cards, and they're quite different. The oracle cards are usually a group of any number of cards, depending on the artist or the person that is creating them. They can be from 25 to 55, depending on the deck. And oracle cards will work with your energy. And they work almost, they actually work similar to Stitchmancy, where the energy that you draw will attract the card to you. And it's actually your intuitive guiding system that connects you to that card to pick it. So with the oracle cards, people can get, you know, good readings off of them, but they're pretty general. The tarot cards and they're also based off of the idea of tarot cards. The tarot cards is a very old divination system. And once you learn the tarot, you can learn how to read any type of cards from, you know, regular playing cards. And that's actually where the tarot originated from. Or actually, sorry, I got that backwards. That's actually where the regular pack of cards originated from, the tarot cards. So the tarot cards were first, okay? So when we use the tarot cards, we are triggering and connecting to subconscious energies. And every one of the cards need to be viewed as a consciousness of its own. So all of these cards are a tool to trigger our higher self and also our spirit guides and the spirits that we have around us. And there's also a lot of different connections that can take place with the tarot. So we need to, before we even start getting started, we need to take note on how we feel before we start to play with the tarot cards, because it is through paying attention to energies is the pathway to open you to communicate with the spirit that is communicating with you through the cards. The other thing that we have to know is we can't use a logical mind with the tarot, because the tarot are designed to connect to the subconscious mind. And when that happens, our subconscious mind comes forth. And that subconscious mind is our intuition, our higher self, and also our omnipresent, our spirit. So it's really important to know that whenever we tap into the cards, we're tapping into a spiritual tool and a spiritual pathway. And what happens is our conscious mind and our everyday thinking mind moves back. Okay, so it goes away. And it clears. So the tarot is a great way to learn how to connect to your spirit and also know that feeling when it comes forth. Okay. So when we begin, always pay attention with how you feel when you're playing, before you play with the cards and after. The other thing that's really important is when we get started with the cards. It is important to smudge your cards or cleanse them in a way, even with incense. Some people will even use essential oils. But it is important to cleanse your cards, and I'm going to get some smudge going myself, to dedicate them and to purify them. Because when we buy them in a store, many people may look at the boxes. There's people that are walking past the aisle, you know, like, you know. So it is important to make sure that we cleanse them so that they are clear and ready to communicate. And as we work, and this is really all you have to do, is you just want to make sure you get them good. You can be, you can actually go through them all and smudge them one by one. But as long as you get them fanned out good and smoky, then you know they're ready to go. And I will actually hold it in the smudge until I see, you can see how the smudge is spreading all the way around the cards. Because when the smudge spreads, that means there's positive energy. If the smudge goes really strong and straight, like an incense smoke, that means there's negative energy. So we like to cleanse it. Now our cards are cleansed, and we're ready to allow these cards to absorb and connect, and also retain any psychic energies as well as messages. Okay? So the other way, now that you can smudge whenever you want. If they're not giving you strong messages, you can smudge. Or if you feel like they're inactive or you can't connect, smudge your cards. But you don't have to do it very often. There is a way to clear your cards for a reading. And you want to do this when the person is right in front of you that you're reading, or if you're about to work it. So this is something that I do during my session as the client is sitting there. It's also something I do every morning before I start asking my questions about my work and day. And what you want to do is you always take the deck and you go through each card, and you want to make sure there is no upside down cards. And the reason why is because there's actually a universal law when it comes with the tarot, that as even though you're making sure there's no upside down cards, after they are shuffled, there will always become one. Okay? So in the deck, one of them or more will become reversed. So we make sure there's no upside down. That way we know that if the reversed card comes up in the reading, that is for them. And it wasn't an upside down from the last reading you did. It also allows the cards to connect to the energy of you in that time, or the person sitting across from you. So just go through them, and you don't have to like speed through. I will if I have like a lineup at a show or something. I used to also, when I did it, I used to always go like this, and I would actually take my finger and clear it. But now I know positive energy, no upside downs, I'm clearing them and getting ready for the reading. At that time too, you don't even want to be thinking anything. It is so important that when you're going in to do a reading for yourself or others, that you don't have anything in your mind, okay? If there's a question you want to ask, you would do that during the shuffling. So the clearer you are, the clearer the cards are for the reading, okay? And there's no specific order you have to have them in. It really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure there's no upside downs. And that's how you would prepare the deck for your client. After that, you would hand your client over the cards. And after they're finished shuffling, or you're shuffling, what you want to do is they'll pick their cards, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But they'll pick their cards, and then after you get their pile of cards for the reading, whether it's 3 cards or 12 cards or whatever layout you're doing, you always take the pile from them and you look at it. And you don't have to show them, but this first card is going to be the first card in the reading. So when you place the cards in the reading, it's always the bottom card as the first card drawn. The other thing is the first card will represent the significator. So that represents the person you are reading as they're sitting in front of you. So when we go to lay these cards in the layout, we make sure that this card is always in an upright position. So if they hand you their little pile of cards, their 3 cards or 11, always look at it, make sure it's not upside down, and then lay the cards out in the position. Whatever is reversed from the first significator card is meant to be reversed. But the significator card is never reversed, okay? The other thing that's really important is when the person is, or you, are getting the cards to do a reading and they're shuffling the cards, that's when you want to pay attention to how the energy of the room feels. Because as they're shuffling, whatever spirit or guidance is coming forward at that time, and it comes before they start to pick the card. When they start to pick the tarot cards, all of the guiding spirits have already placed their influence in here. They're already around. So that's why as they're picking their cards, we relax and take note on how the air in the room feels. And the reason why is because that's how we know what spirit is coming forward. So if the room warms up and you start to feel warm and cozy, you know that that is a male spirit, okay? Now, if you're shuffling the cards and you know that if that male spirit made their presence by that warm feeling, that you'll want to see where their message is in the reading. They will show up in one of the cards in the reading. So if you're also waiting for the cards to come and that card or the room starts to feel chilly, then you know, oh my gosh, it's a female. So when the female spirits come forward, you always get like a chill, okay? And that's our feminine side. The other thing to note, because we're all women here, when we are doing readings, and we're really connected, we will start to get cold. Because when we work with our feminine side, our feminine life force, which is also what the spirit energy is, we get a little chilly. So always make sure, you can see I got this little thing, always make sure you have a shawl or a blanket around, but also try to keep the temperature of the room that you're doing readings in at a regular temperature so that you know this is spirit energy. So I keep mine at 20 degrees. And if I get cold or too hot, then I know, okay, it's spirit, okay? So that's one thing that's really important to know, and you'll be able to start connecting with spirit. And within an hour's reading, you may feel energy changes in the atmosphere 3 or 4 times, depending on how many spirits are trying to come through. So as they have the cards, there's lots of rules and lots of books on how you should shuffle the cards, okay? Some people say that you should only shuffle with your left hand. For me, and you can use any way that works for you. I'm teaching you what works for me. I have no strict rules, and I've never read a tarot book in my life, but I do it this way. So I always tell my customers or clients to shuffle the cards a minimum of 3 times, because most of the times these cards, they're super huge, okay? They're pretty big. I have poker player clients that can't even shuffle these. And a lot of our clients, most of my clients, are over 50, okay? So a minimum of 3 times. Now, if you take your deck of cards right now and start to shuffle them and just hold them in your hand and even try to do that thing where you can go like this and shuffle them up, okay? You will notice that your cards will start to get stickier and stickier, or it will feel like a magnetic energy. Okay, So a minimum of 3 times shuffling, because it connects to body, mind, and spirit. And it also connects to the power of 3. And that's why a minimum of 3 times. Then I get them to spread the cards out. Now, if they shuffle more than 3 times, and most people do, okay, you can read their shuffle. So the way they are shuffling the card tells us so much about the reading. And it's one of my favorite things, because once you learn this, and then once you see what the cards mean, it always helps. So it's just another thing to help bring you that confirmation that you're connecting. So when you give your client the deck, you always want them to feel this relax. You can ask them if they have a specific question, they can put it in there. But normally, I don't even say that. If there's no question and they're shuffling the cards, you're going to see their life path. So when I do my readings, I can do past, present, future, but normally I will do a full path for 1 year, okay? And the reason why we're able to see that is because it's their guiding system that is trying to get into the cards, not their conscious mind, okay? So our conscious mind can influence the cards. It's also really important that we don't use the cards when we're stressed or in a bad mood. You're going to get negative cards. It's very important that when we learn to connect with the atmosphere, you'll also learn how to hold your space, okay? So if you understand how you're feeling before you do the reading, any changes that are occurring during the reading or while you're doing cards are meant to be interpreted in that reading. There's many times I'll sit down at the table, and as I'm reading someone, all of a sudden my lower back starts to kill me, and I'm like, that is not my lower back. I never had that issue before I started the reading. So you want to take care and aware of any physical sensations that you feel as well, not just the atmosphere, okay? You will also be able to sense how nervous they are. So it's always important to just be yourself. You know, don't try to make yourself sound like you're, you know, Madame Zabar or whatever. Just be yourself, okay? They're nervous, and most of the time, they're sitting directly in front of you, okay? So I'm gonna go back to what the shuffles mean. So when the seeker, when the person you're reading or yourself, just shuffle your cards right now and pay attention to where you are shuffling them, okay? Because there's different insights there, and these are clues. So if you're shuffling or your client is shuffling and they're sloppy and they start falling all over the place, then you know that they're nervous, and there's also a lack of concentration on the question. And they may be confusing reading. So just take note that their energy and their concentration level is quite low. And the chances are, the reason why they, if you do experience that, you want to remind them that they need to think about, you know, they just need to concentrate and relax. Chances are their mind's wandering, or they're talking to me, they're talking to me during their shuffle. So they need to just be silent and connect. So if you find that they are they fall all over the place, any ones that face up, I always take note. If there's only 1 or 2 cards that spit out, I always look at them and take note. But I will put it back, tell them to put it back in and shuffle. So if the person across from you is shuffling and they're pointing the cards away from you, which is how I'm shuffling. When I'm shuffling right now, I'm kind of pointing my cards towards the person, but say they're away and they're kind of up like this, or away, or they're turned. So they're not facing the person. then that means that they're really worried about what's going to come through in the cards. That there is something that is super important and they may feel embarrassed about, but they really want to know it, and that's why they're there. So that means that this person is also a private person, and they may be shy about asking, what they really want to. Okay, so when it comes to, do you have any questions, they wouldn't come forward with any, even if they did. Okay, so when you get someone that's holding the cards close to them and away from you, then you know, okay, there's something deep here, and you really want to take a look at what the reading is about and give them the best option, the best reading possible to find that solution. So the other thing that happens with the tarot is for new beginnings. Every single time you look at them, you're starting a new cycle. You'll never get the same reading. You'll always get new guidance. And the guidance that comes through the tarot is always positive. Always. If there is negative things coming in the card, that means there's an attachment to a mundane mental consciousness. Our guiding systems are positive and higher beings. They don't think negative. They don't need to tell us negative things are happening. They are always blessing us. So we believe that we never speak negative because we're always manifesting it. However, when we're doing the readings, we're looking at our life, and we will, oh, sorry.
No, you were black, like the whole screen was black for a while, and I know spirits can interfere with the, you know, like the electronics, but the whole screen was black for a while, so I didn't know if it was just me or everybody else as well, but you're back.
Okay. Where did I leave off for you, or were you able to still hear me?
Yeah, we could still hear you. We just couldn't see you.
Wow. I think it's the bags under my eyes. I'm just kidding. So where I was at is that our spirit guiding system is always positive. And when we take a look at our life,
right.
And for me, I use the cards whenever I'm stressed, whenever I need to look at something. The cards will show us conflicting.
I see Kelly now.
Sorry?
Hello.
Can you?
I can see Kelly. I can't see you.
Can you hear me?
I can see you now.
Weird.
Yeah, okay.
You just keep freezing up.
Yeah, and actually I can see Karen now, and I can't see you.
Now I see Kelly.
So is it like one big screen, or are you seeing one
Yes.
screen?
So
okay.
I'm gonna actually.
I don't see Kelly no more.
Yeah.
Okay, now I see the other girl, Lorraine.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it changes over whenever it goes to sound or something.
And
But does my screen actually?
Georgina, you keep freezing up.
Okay.
So I just turned my video off because sometimes that interferes with it. Like I've been on teleconferences before, and so where, like at the bottom of the screen, if you tap the bottom of the screen, it'll say audio and video. If you click the video, it actually turns off the video for the participants. And sometimes that will help with the facilitator so that it's not flapping back and forth.
Okay, so let me see if I can find that. I am not technical at anything. Let me see. I know how to deal with.
Yeah, because as a facilitator, you should be able to control what we're seeing. There, okay. So I can see you again.
Okay.
There we go. I can see you. So hopefully, those spirits, they just get playing with that electronic stuff.
They do. They do. And I am so bad with electronic stuff. I go through appliances and computers like once a year. I have to get a new computer. I'm so bad at it. It's okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So in our daily life, we may see things that are conflicting. We can actually use the cards to change any circumstances we want with some particular cards. So we use the cards as a blueprint to better anything. If I see something in the cards that looks stressful to me, I will further ask, how can I change this? And I do it until I see the cards and the outcome that I want. Okay, so the cards are amazing for creating blueprints and solutions and actually creating your life and where you should be going. So let's get back to the shuffling of the cards. So there's that people that could be very secretive. This is also closed if they're on the body. So they might shuffle them really close and curl up. The other thing is that you want to watch for is where are the cards pointing. So if the person who wants to know everything, they shuffle with the deck towards you and they have the space around them where they're more comfortable. So more comfortable position, the more open the reading. So that should be pretty easy to remember. So you want to pay attention, is that person open, closed, secretive, or shy, okay? Whenever you notice the cards that flip over, we already went over that. The other thing is a minimum of 3 times. Now, when you shuffle your cards, I want you to spread them out. So there's a lot of different ways to spread your cards. I just let them do it naturally. I spread mine, I'm right-handed. I spread from left and then all the way to the right in an arch like a rainbow. And if you spread your cards that way, you'll notice that there are some spaces where the cards are open. So when my cards are spread out, they may look like, here I'll show you just so a handful. Okay, see these cards here. So while I'm picking my 11 cards or 3 cards, I would go to the ones that are open and apparent, okay? Some people will dig through and pick the cards they want. When I'm reading myself, I just shuffle them, I spread them open, and wherever they look like I could just pick the card easily, those are the ones I go for. And it always ends up being 11 cards that we're using in a full reading. Or you can go ahead and pick the cards. Your clients, if you're reading for people, they're just gonna grab the cards that they want. I don't even say anything, but I will take note on it if they do that or not. So when you do that, you're picking the cards that opened for you. So the readings can be very guided, which is really nice. The other thing is when you have the rainbow of cards that are spread on your table, and they're picking the cards or you're picking the cards that are on the left, 2 that goes to the middle, always represent past. The cards directly in front of you, as if that's the meridian, always represent the present. And the cards that are going to the right always represent the future. So whenever they're picking the cards, you will see that they are picking from the future and moving towards, or from the past and moving towards the future, okay? That will also let you know where they're coming from. Are they stuck in the past? How much do they want to know about the future? Are they scared of the future? Sometimes people will only pick 1 or 2 cards. That does not matter. You're going to be reading the cards anyway of what comes up, where they come up, but it is good to take note on where they're delving into to receive their information, okay? So past, present, and future can be shown in that. So you always tell them to spread the cards out and you pick out cards. before we finish this class, I want you to be able to pick out three cards, and I'll discuss that later. But in a full reading, I have the client pick out 11 cards. All 11 cards will let me see the spiritual influence that is taking place for an entire year's journey. Okay? So every position will represent certain months that are to come. Okay? And we'll get into that later in the course. The other thing is some people will cut their cards. And the cut is fine. If they go to the left, then you know that that cut has to do with the past. If they cut to the right, then you know they're focused on their future, okay? And a lot of people, you would be surprised how many people are actually stuck in the past, okay? So you can read the cut as well, just like that, just like the other. So if the seeker is left-handed, the same applies, okay? So when we have the person you're reading, you always want them across from you because their spirit energy comes directly to you, okay? And it's important to read the different energies that are coming. Sometimes you'll also get to the point where you're able to see the spirits that are behind them. And trust me, when you work with the tarot cards, every one of your intuitive pathways, it doesn't matter if you're operating from one, but every single one of your intuitive pathways will be working with you, okay? And they open and they get stronger every time you get insight. So I wanted you to focus on this week doing 3-card spreads, okay? So you're gonna pick 3 cards for readings. You can ask any questions you want. When it comes to tarot, any questions you can actually ask. There isn't anything you can't. And you're either going to be able to interpret the information of it, or you will get a clear reading that you're not meant to ask that question. So there are certain cards that will say, not now, okay? So choosing the cards, try to do it intuitively where the cards open up. And like I said, when you're shuffling the cards, they could start getting sticky or magnet, and that's why they will break open the way they do. And as you start using the cards, your deck is going to get thicker and more magnetic. You never want to wash that energy off. It is spirit energy. So as far as questions, if you're focusing on a specific question, you will see insight for that specific answer, but you will not be able to do a full 1-year reading or a pathway reading with a specific question. So I want you to focus on asking questions that are specific. You can ask about health, money, love, and also ask no questions, just to see where the spirit feels that you are. So pathway readings are no thinking, just shoveling, and then we have the specific. Now we're going to get into the different types of cards. So in the deck, we have the minor arcana cards. And in that, you'll have swords, you'll have, and actually right now, while I'm talking about this, please find your ace cards. Okay, try to find the ace cards in the tarot. And they will be one of heart, or one of cups, one of wands, staves sometimes. You want the ace of pentacles, or stones, or coins, they can be called. The swords can be daggers. The wands can be staves or staff. Okay, so get your aces out. I'm trying to find mine. There we go. So the minor arcana cards are all of the cards that represent the aces, the cups, the wands, the swords, and the pentacles. And we're going to be using these cards in our reading. So we want to make sure that this next week we're using the aces, okay? So the main minor arcana cards, if you look at each one of them, all represent our human life. And in our life, we will experience the minor arcana cards over and over again. The minor arcana cards are the cards that we can use to see the influences that are around us and where we're headed. They are changeable. So anything that comes up with the minor arcana cards can be changed. And that's when I said, if you see something in your cards that show a conflict, you can actually change it, okay? So the minor arcana cards are our everyday life. There's 4 different suits in the minor arcana. We have the wands or the staves. And all of the wands represent how we live our life, okay? They also represent how we live our life and where we're headed with it. So wands will represent our career. It will represent what we want to do. Maybe it represents the way we want to feel, like our success and our feeling at home. So the wands represent anything that has to do with our life and how we want to make our daily life look and feel, okay? And it always represents our work and how we make that money, okay? So whenever wands come up, enterprise, they represent opportunity that's coming. They also represent ideas. So when wands come up, there's some kind of idea in play. It also can represent ambition. Okay, so wands represent the ambition behind that person. All of the swords, when swords come up, the mind is in play. So wands is also vision. Okay, it represents vision. The wand or the swords, they represent decision and the conscious mind. So this is our mental mind. It always represents something that needs to be decided in order for a formation to take place. Okay, so they will also represent breakthroughs and conflicts. And it all has to do with how the mind perceives it, the difficulties it created, the actions, the reactions, but there's always mental play involved, okay? We also have the cups, and the cups always represent our emotions. It also represents spirit. So a lot of times the cups, when they come in, they will represent spirits of the past. They represent healing. And this actually represents our spiritual wholeness. So everything that wants to fill that feeling of wholeness, we're all on our path to, fill our hearts and find our purpose. That's what this is about. So this is the one that also triggers our empathic abilities and how we're feeling. So if anyone has questions about love, healing, purpose, hidden things, the cups represent that, okay? And they will also represent the imagination or hidden things trying to come forward. So whenever I see cups in the reading, I pay special attention because it will represent some kind of spirit that is trying to bring healing to that person, whether it's, a situation, a body physical healing, or an intuitive ability or spiritual ability. So they always represent that. We also have the pentacles. The pentacles represent the earth element, and everything that is tangible. So it represents our money, and it represents our security in life. This is also represents our mastery to our comfortable way of life. Part of the path of spirituality is to have that connection, body, mind, and spirit, but all of them balanced at the same time, seeking that purpose and freedom. So the 4 suits represent 4 aspects of life. It also represents the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. Swords would be fire, wands would be air. Sometimes those are reversed. Water is the cups, and earth is the pentacles. So we're going to move on with that to the major arcana. And we're going to get deep into the major arcana once we study the minor. The major arcana cards are all numbered. So they're the cards, I just opened it, lucky us. They're the cards that will have a number on the top and then the word. So the major arcana cards are the cards that represent universal laws. And they represent the attainment of the soul. Okay? So when these cards, when the major arcana cards that come up in a reading, they're not changeable. We can't change those. And those are going to be in play until we learn that lesson. And sadly, some people have been trying to learn the same lesson all their life. But we can also learn many lessons quickly through the tarot. Now, no matter what, every single one of us has to learn these lessons in life, whether we're conscious of it or not. And a lot of times when we have reoccurring things, it is because these are the cards that are in play, the major arcana. The other thing that is really important to know about the major arcana is that these are mastery cards. So the minor arcanas are the ones that go from ace all the way up to the kings. And as a woman, because we're all women on here, we need to master every one of those minor arcana cards, from the aces to the queen of whatever it is, the queen of wands, the queen of cups, the queen of pentacles. We need to master that ourselves. And once we're able to master that, then we start to get real attainment in spirituality. The other thing is, we go into the aces. The aces, if you look at them laid out, and you may all have different decks, that's okay, but do they have hands on them? The hands all perfect. The hands all represent archangels. Okay? So the aces represent angelic energy. They represent the form of creation. And for the Rider-Waite cards, you can actually see which hand is female out of the archangels. So for the Ace of Wands, this would represent Archangel Uriel. And Archangel Uriel is the angel of visions and prophecy and the protector of our path. We also have Archangel Michael, who is represented in the Ace of Swords. So when Archangel Michael comes around, he's breaking blocks and giving us a divine protection or idea that is meant to be manifested. Okay? And when we have the Ace of Cups always represents Archangel Raphael's energy. And Archangel Raphael is the angel of healing and of love and of wisdom. We also have the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles represents Archangel Gabriel. And Archangel Gabriel is female. but she is just as strong and deadly as Archangel Michael. So Archangel Gabriel, or Gabriel, is the angel of family, of security, and of richness. So financial freedom, actually. And many people ask, well, why are the archangels in the tarot? Isn't the tarot, aren't the archangels religious? And isn't the tarot occult? Well, the tarot is occult power. And all of the archangels actually existed before religion. Archangel Michael was actually praised by the Chaldeans, which were, I think they're like way before, like BC, 3500 BC, I can't remember. But they're really old, pre-religion. And Michael was actually considered a god. And that's why he was able to become an archangel form. Gabriel, before Gabriel became a religious archangel, Gabriel was actually Sumerian, and her name actually means of the moon. And so Gabriel was actually considered a goddess before she became an archangel. And she was actually human form that became goddess status in life. Archangel Raphael, pre-religion, was actually the son of a god and a goddess. And it says unstable, I want to make sure you can see. So he was an archetype that actually represented healing power. And Raphi actually means doctor or healer. And then we have Uriel. And Uriel was also pre-religion. They used him for prophecy and visions. And he was actually the protector of all of Goddess's children upon the earth, as well as known as the protector for the nature spirits. So he guards he protects all of the good nature in earth, air, fire, and water. And that is why he is huge when it comes to manifesting in your life, because the root makers are the earth energies that support us to manifest. So aces always represent a creative power that is in formation. They also always represent a miracle. So when I see an ace showing up in someone's reading, they're going to have a miracle, and one of these archangels' energy is in play to make something happen so that a new cycle of creation can be formed. So if you have your 4 aces out, shuffle them up right now, just the 4 aces. And pick only one. Let's see what ace, what energy is around you. Okay, so shuffle them up, spread it out. So that's huge. You got Ace of Wands. So that means that the guidance around you is focused on your life, the way you live it, what you should be doing, and also creating a new enterprise for yourself. So it does have to do with your future. What did you get? Cups? Yeah, so you're in a healing journey right now. Archangel Raphael wants to create a new cycle for you, life and love. And it is about your wholeness and taking the time for you. What did you get?
I got Pentacles.
Okay, so that's good. Stability, security. That means that there's a breakthrough in finances. Okay, that the energy around you right now is focused on your material pleasures and gain. And so that is really cool, because we're able to, when we play with the aces, you'll be able to learn the feeling of them too, right? And what we should be focusing on. So if I feel like I need to, so I'll do a reading for myself. Now that I know that I have the healing card, I'm not going to focus on money until that card comes up. I'm going to focus on my healing, what I really want, put that together, and see where this influence is taking place. So take note on that card that you picked tonight and see how it actually influences you in the next 3 days. So whenever we do tap into the cards and we will receive some kind of sign in our life to show us that our reading is accurate. And that is the job of the spirit. That's what I love, okay? We're just the channeler. So the aces always represent a miracle and a new beginning. Something new is in play. It's either going to be life, love, money, or action, change, and ideas, okay? So aces are one of my favorites. I do want to move into the ones, or we did the ones. Let's go to the twos. So when you look at the aces, there is actually no number, well, there is. The number one of the aces in the major arcana deck is the Magician. So when we have received all 4 of these archangel divine connections, we will now be moved into mastering what the Magician card is all about, okay? So the mastery of these miracles and being able to understand when this energy comes in and to act on it is part of the mastery of the Magician, okay? So just keep that in mind for when we get to the Magician. Let's go to the twos. We only have a couple minutes, and I want to make sure you have a couple cards to play with, okay? So let's go to the twos. So the aces, they always represent the creation. Ace of Wands was beginning of an idea, an enterprise, an ambition, a desire. Reversed, it would represent difficulties in that, okay? So any of the aces reversed shows difficulties in the creation of whatever it is showing. That would be difficulties in healing, difficulties in the relationship if it's cups, difficulties in finances. If someone says, I'm thinking about starting a new business, and the Ace of Pentacles comes upside down, you wouldn't want to say, oh, it's going to be awesome. It does show there's difficulties. And remember, whenever something is reversed, that's when we want to take a look at it. Why is this reversed? And how can we turn it over? Because when the cards show up reversed, they're letting us know there's a block. That's it, a block. And each one of those cards reversed can be flipped very easy with the right and correct action. And of course, that action is going to be the positive development of where they're at, okay? So whenever the aces come upside down, there's a block, okay? So Ace of Swords is power and mind. Ace of Cups, the healing and the emotions, and the Earth is money and concrete, tangible formations, okay? So when we go into the twos, and if you can lay out all your 2 cards, have them in front of you. 2 of Wands, 2 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, and 2 of Swords. So when you take a look at all these 2s lined up, I want you to remember that they all have 2 things in play. So the 2s concept represent balance. And that's the basic theme of the 2s. So the 2 of Wands, you can see that there's a balance of previous success. In my card, it shows there is 1 wand behind the person, and then they are they're holding on to a wand in the future. So it represents the balance of something that was a previous success, as well as a new success and idea that is coming in. So whenever the Two of Wands comes up, I know that there's a balance that needs to happen with their career and is in place wherever it shows up in the reading. It also represents that the person, there's my card. So you can see this would be the past one. It's already strapped to the building. There's the future, and he's holding the world in his hand. And that's because he's already sent out ideas. Okay, he's already wondering, what should I do next? He knows he needs to develop and do more. He needs to balance his situation. But it does not mean getting rid of what he's already doing. There's an addition to it. So it represents, when this comes up, I know that the person does need to add something else into life to balance it. Okay, so the balance, there's also white lilies on this card, and there's red roses. And so this person is looking for a new purpose. And that's why it's not enough. They're now striving for their purpose, and their belief and faith is in something new. It's no longer in what they've been doing. So he holds the new wand, symbolizing new potential. It also represents that there is a meant to be situation in this card. He is meant to just do something new, and he's already feeling that. So it represents potential. This also represents the white lilies mean good intentions, and the red roses represent devotion. So this shows a clear path. But when you look at it, the card is gray. What that means is that the answer is not yet clear. This person needs to, consider the ideas that have been coming, and they're still just waiting for confirmation. Normally when this comes up in the reading, guess who's the confirmation? We are. Okay? So this is a confirmation card. And I would know by where it shows up in the reading when this idea is going to take place and the choice and the action of it. But it is to balance their life. Okay? So 2 represents that. If the card is reversed, then it represents that there is still ideas, but the potentials will not be realized and they may not work out. So if someone says, am I meant to do this? And this comes up, they're in the right track of receiving ideas, but it's not quite there. So I always let them know, you know what, let's see what else is. We can pull on it, or they need to consider more options. Okay, so it does represent reversed. It's not going to work out, and it won't happen. Okay, and of course you want to find out why so that you can fix that. Okay, and most of the time when it's reversed is because it's either wrong intentions, just like the rose and the lilies. It's not really connected to them, and it may be something that they're doing for the wrong reasons. It could be for someone else. So we also have the 2 of Cups, and that's what my 2 of Cups looks like. And the 2 of Cups indicates a number of things. The picture in this card represents a sharing. And this is actually give to receive and receive to give. It is a universal law of balance. And this balance is in regards to partnership. And it could be a partnership in family or in business, but it is going to be connected to your heart. Okay? So the balance indicates friendship, partnership, or sharing a romance. And this card actually represents the mind and heart being balanced. And that's why you can see the catechist on it, because the catechist in this card actually represents the true wand of Archangel Uriel. And if you look at it, you'll see the wand, you see the Sphinx with the wings. that is, Uriel's sign is the lion. So if you ever have a vision of a lion, that's Archangel Uriel. And the snakes going up the wand represent the masculine and feminine life force. And we actually see that on all of the ambulance. So that is actually what Archangel Uriel carries. So there is support, there's angelic support there. And it also represents that the emotions are imbalanced, that there may be a discussion of importance that is going to take place, or a mutual exchange. It can also represent a romance. So if someone says to me, is this person my soulmate, and this comes up, it's usually a yes. You would know by the other cards. So this does represent a soulmate card, but it represents a balance of giving and receiving in relationships, as well as the spirituality of the relationship, okay? So when we are in a relationship with a person, there's, you know, me, the other person, and then there's the spirituality and the power that is created by the interactions within that relationship. So there's a spirituality in the symbolism, and that's what the lion represents, the magnetic attraction between the people. So when this card is upside down, okay, then you know that there is an imbalance in the relationship, okay? So they could be leading to separation. So if this is upside down, I know that the separation and the difficulties that are happening within the relationship is because there is an imbalance. Somebody is giving more than receiving. It also represents arguments within family. So sometimes you'll get a reading and you know, okay, you know, parents can be divided with children. So always know there is a block that represents. This can also lead to selfishness and rejections within relationships. So whenever I see this come up, I know I need to help them. And I need to help them find balance and being able to recover from this, whether it's someone else's selfishness or their own, okay? So we would ask, how can we fix this? Some people are meant to split up. Not everyone who are together are meant to be together. So a lot of times this could also mean adultery, and it will come up with specific cards if it is, okay? So the Two of Pentacles, the Two of Pentacles is awesome. If you look at it, mine, you'll see that there's an infinity, that 8, okay? A lot of people relate to it as the infinite energy flow. So the infinity symbol surrounds the Two of Pentacles, or the coins, and the Two of Pentacles implies that the change is infinite and that we must always expect fluctuation. So when we see this card coming up, there is a juggling, there's a balancing that's trying to happen, and there's a fluctuation taking place with dealing with something that we own and possess. And that can also include our kids, okay? It can include our loved ones, our jobs, our positions in life. It also represents our finances. So this is a balancing that's taking place. It also represents that we are evolving from child to parent, dependent to independent, all over again. So the infinite symbol tells us that the principle of change is eternal and somewhat out of our hands, okay? And that we can flow with it and the moves that are around and rearrange our life. So whenever this card comes up, I know that their life is meant to be rearranged, okay? It also represents easiness. It shows that even though there's a balancing taking place, it should be simple. It shouldn't be a difficult phase. The only time this card is difficult is when it's reversed. So if the reverse comes up, I know that they are juggling their finances, They're not dealing with life's changes very good. Maybe they're holding on too tight. They're mishandling money, that they could be moving into debt, and they're maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul. It can also represent unexpected happenings that took place that created the insecurity. So whenever I see that this is a reversed card, then I always look at how they can fix the situation. Most of the time, this represents financial loss. Usually when it's a family, you'll see a lot of cups with it, or possibly both of these together, okay? Or you'll see if it's a financial thing within a couple, you may see the couple, and then this comes up, and you know financial loss, someone in the family, it was either him or her. The cards will tell you the whole story, okay? The last one, did I do them all? The swords, the Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords, that's what mine looks like. I used to get this so much, so I learned about this one. But the Two of Swords represents, and you can see there's water in the background. The woman is holding the sword, she's blindfolding and holding the swords. This represents inaction and waiting out a situation. So she is being passive and she is not taking action. And this represents that she's also trying to postpone things, okay? So whenever I see this card, I know they're at a stalemate. I also know that they are desiring harmony, that they want something emotional, and that they are deciding not to take any actions until they regain their emotional balance. So when this card comes up, they're regaining their energy and balance, and they're unable to make a decision at this time because they're not getting that insight that they want or need, okay? When this card is upside down, it represents the decision was made. So there's action concerning the choice that was made, and sometimes the seeker makes the decision by circumstances. So look into the future cards to see how that decision was made. So the Two of Swords upside down is not a negative card. It's a positive one. And it shows that the decision has been made. Now, sometimes this will show up with other upside down cards, then you know they made a bad decision. But if it's just this as the reversed, you'll be able to know when they made the decision by where it's sitting and what that decision is about by the other suits showing up around it, okay? So Two of Swords is a good one. So we're gonna end with this. So far, I want you to, this week, pay attention to what I shared as far as feeling the energy when you're pulling cards. Use the aces and twos and add the threes. So you can do the aces, twos, and threes. We're gonna start with the threes next class, but do readings. I want you to do 3-card pulls. So you can do past, present, future. So the first, you would pull 3 cards, and the first, let me get 3 cards. So the first card on the bottom would represent the past. The middle card is the present, and the future card, the last card is the future. Okay? So do 3-card pulls about anything that has to do past, present, and future. The other 3 cards you can ask is the first card, which I said was the past. You can do 0 to 3 months in time. So say you want to know, show me how my finances are for the next year. You pull out 3 cards. The first card, which is the bottom one, will now represent from now to 3 months' time. I don't even know why I'm showing you that. The second card is going to represent 3 to 6 months in time. And the last card represents 6 to 12. And there's a bigger jump from 6 to 12 because the outcome could also be quite different because it's so far away. Okay? But practice doing past, present, future readings, and then try to do a 1 year with the 3 cards. Okay? You can also just ask a specific question. Okay? So every day, or you can ask a question about something specific, just do the reading and see what you get. So one thing you do want is a journal so that you can write down certain things. And when I was first starting, I used to write a journal on all of my readings because after a while, you go back and read it and look at it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I got that, that worked, it happened. And still today, about my life plans and where I'm headed, I always write down the cards. Okay? So practice pulling cards. You can also practice by using those aces, 1s, 2s, or aces, 2s, and 3s, and just pick a card for the day. Just one card. Leave it face up, and then at the end of the day, reflect on your day and see why you pulled that card. Because even though I'm going to be teaching you about all the cards and that I gave you the meanings, some of the meanings, each card can actually have 1 million different interpretations. Okay? So they'll always represent something totally different. But because we want to understand the general emotion, and also the general mindset, right? We want to understand each one of these cards on all levels, okay? Does anyone have any questions about what I've said tonight?
No.
Okay, well, practice pulling cards.
It's going to be recorded.
Yes, I am going to send you the audio.
This is,
It'll be, sorry? I'll send you the audio so you can listen to it again. Practice pulling cards and feel free to message me if you're stuck on anything. But for right now, until we meet again, we just want to focus on what we experience, the angelic energy, and how we're feeling when it's happening, okay? So we're just getting ourselves connected. Pay attention to how you're shuffling too. Are you shuffling and are you open? Are you fearful? You know, just take note on everything we discussed. So I'm going to convert that. I'll send you the audio tomorrow, but start pulling cards and have fun, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Have a great night.
you
You
too.
too. Bye.
Thank you.